All right, what's going on YouTube? Gabe the Great back. I know it's been a while since I've made these videos. For the past few months, 5-6 months, I've been over on TikTok. You can search me there on TikTok, Gabe the Great 18, same thing as this channel. But I've been over there. The account's been blowing up, so I spent some time over there. A lot has changed in my life. No longer with the woman I was with. That's led to a lot of craziness going on in my life. But nonetheless, still out here working, still trying to help men better their lives and everything. And for those of you guys who don't know, in April of 2024, I released my manifesto, right? It's called the Overman's Manifesto. And in it, I explain the nature of reality. And in the beginning, I dive into nihilism. Nihilism and fatalism is something that a lot of men are struggling with right now. And so today I want to offer you some advice, not just advice, but really the instructions about how to get through nihilism. Okay. And because I'm a guy who hates people making you wait 20 minutes to get to the answer. What I like to do is give you the answer up front and then sort of get deeper into it. And really the answer is when it comes to nihilism is you have to reframe the way that you see nature and reality. So I'm going to read a little bit from my manifesto and break down. I'm not just going to read it straight. But I'm going to stop and pause and kind of explain what I'm talking about. But if you want to download a copy of my manifesto, you will see the link in the bio down there. Since I've been on here, sit off YouTube for the past 6 months, I've started a movement. It's called the Pro-Human Movement. Again, you can look us up on Instagram. My TikTok is where a lot of the content is at. But we have started a movement of people all over the country where we just acknowledge that American society is broken. American society doesn't work for anyone. It's not that it just doesn't work for the men. It's not that it just doesn't work for the white men or the poor man. It doesn't work for any man. It doesn't work for any woman. It doesn't work for any child. And fundamentally, it's because the United States of America was started as a country where some people were considered humans and some people were not considered humans. And so the reason why we have, other countries will debate politics, we debate human dignity. We debate whether or not some people deserve to be treated as human beings. And so in the past, if you were a white man, it didn't matter much, right? Because the country was built for whiteness and you could hide behind that identity and that wouldn't matter as much. Well, now in 2025 it's different. And what a lot of people don't understand is that we're not going back. Okay. We're not going back to whites. We will, might not like me saying this, but we will literally die or kill or be killed before white supremacy comes back. So America can't go back to originalism. America can't go back to its constitution because you live in a diverse population of 330 million people. And quite frankly, most white people don't want to be white supremacists. I think it's just an outlet for their frustration and angst and anger. And so a lot of people are looking at American society and going, what's the point? Why go to school? Why saddle myself with debt? Why get into a relationship? Why, what's the point? What is the next 30, 40 years? What's the point? And we're all looking at it and it's like, it's just meaninglessness, right? It doesn't mean anything. And so because it doesn't mean anything, there's a lot of nihilism, particularly with young men, that is happening right now. And so I really want to try to dig into that today and a little bit, because this manifesto is 103 pages. We're obviously not going to go through it. We're just going to go through maybe 3 pages right here I got, if we go through all of it today. But I really want to help young men with nihilism. It's very real. And it affects a lot of men. So let's get into it. If you want to, I'll leave a link in the bio, www.mercyformaya.com. You can download a copy of this manifesto. The PDF will always be free. I do believe next year I'll probably put this in a book format and sell it, but the PDF will always be free for you guys to download. So I wrote this manifesto. You'll see at the intro of it. This is what I call my infinity project. Okay. This is my gift to the world. And my hopes is that it has way more impact than money that I can make off of it. And I hope that this is something that future generations are talking about for years and years to come. Okay. But on page 10, we'll start at the heading that says matrical thinking, existential dread, and the purpose of life. And like I said, I'm not just going to read it straight to you. I'm going to take time to break things down. Okay. Take some water here. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are diving headfirst into nihilism and existential dread. Why? Because we must. This is where the world stops. Staring into the unknown, most people break. Because the unknown is not just death, it's meaninglessness. It's the terrifying truth that life has no meaning except the one you create. And that is the real abyss, the real enemy, that darkness is not outside, but the moment you realize there may be nothing in the dark except your own reflection. So again, starting on page 10, and I gave a brief introduction of my what I believe the nature of reality is. I believe reality is broken up into 3 parts: self, society, and the unknown. Okay, so there's you, yourself, which is comprised of universal consciousness, whether you want to call that a soul or spirit. I don't get too caught up in semantics, because that's a big part of American society, is to distort meaning through language, right? So I just call it universal consciousness. You can call it a soul or spirit or whatever you want. Then you have your body. Every individual self has a body. And then it's your environment. Your environment shapes who you are, right? I didn't decide I was black. I didn't decide this is a nose or this is my head. That's what my environment and the people that I grew up with shaped who I am. And then you have the greater society, which is the collection of individual selves. Now, every self is having a subjective experience. And when all those subjective experiences come together, we create this objective illusion, right? And I talk about that later on. While I don't use illusion in a negative connotation, it's just what it is, right? That we have this fixed idea of truth. And what we see so often, but especially with technology now, is that many of the old truths, be it white supremacy, be it religion, be it American exceptionalism, as we develop more technology and as we learn more about the world, we figured out that a lot of these truths aren't true. So what's these individual selves' subjective experiences, when we all come together, we create an objective illusion. Okay. And then the third part of reality is the unknown. It's that recognizing that our bodies, our brains are conscious limiting tools. And so a part of being a human is embracing the unknown. And this is what I'm talking about here in the beginning. Where a lot of nihilism starts is it starts in the I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't know what the future holds, or I don't know, right? Before it's this means nothing, usually it's I don't know. It's a wrestling with what comes next. And what I'm trying to get people to see and understand is that no. The unknown is a necessary part of our subjective human experience. From your first cry out of your mother's womb, that was you negotiating with the unknown. Your first cries were trying to see, hey, is there anything here? Do people recognize me? Where's mom? Where's dad? Even as you learned to walk, you didn't know how to walk. You didn't know how to talk. And so society, as we grow up, has taught us the illusion of certainty. Like we can just know everything, we're just supposed to know what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to, get to this point in life. And then after you get to this point, you go to college. Then after college, you get married, you date for a year, couple years, then you get married, you're married, then you have kids. And then it's like we have this illusion of certainty of how things are supposed to go. And now that that's all collapsing around us, people are looking into the unknown and they're like, what do I do? And this is where it starts, because you're staring into the unknown. You're staring into the future. You're staring into the present reality. Maybe tomorrow, right? Maybe the next week. You don't know what's going to happen. You're living day to day, right? Trust me, I know exactly how that is. And so you're staring out into the unknown. You're staring out into reality. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know what next week holds. You don't know what the presents hold. And it's that terrifying feeling that, man, maybe there's nothing out there. Maybe none of this means anything. Okay? At its core, nihilism is the belief that life has no inherent meaning, value, or purpose. Nothing matters, nothing lasts, and everything, love, success, belief, suffering, will eventually be erased by time, death, and the vast indifference of the universe. It is the moment when the self realizes that the gods may be dead, society is a man made story, and the universe owes us nothing. Nihilism is born the moment the self stares into the unknown and asks why and finds no answer. It is the collapse of inherent meaning, religion, morality, politics, even identity. Nihilism is a system failure. It happens when the self realizes society's stories are lies and the environment can no longer distract it. Money, made up. Justice made up. Right and wrong, stories written by people more afraid than you. It's not just sadness, it's emptiness. It's like standing on the edge of a black hole knowing you could leap and no one would care. Right? So at its core, when we're talking about nihilism, right? And particularly at this time in American history, it actually makes very logical sense that nihilism is big right now. I think a lot of the academics, a lot of the experts think that nihilism is a bad thing or we got to do something about nihilism. No, nihilism makes sense when you are honest about what the United States of America is and was. When you are honest about the fact that the United States Constitution is an explicitly white supremacist document. When you're honest about the fact that the United States Constitution made 1/5 of the population property. And it makes sense when the entire thing is built on illusion, the illusion of freedom, the illusion of justice, the illusion of liberty. That was never granted to all people. That was never for all people. When the founding fathers wrote all men were created equal, they didn't mean that. They didn't mean that for women. They didn't mean that for poor men. They didn't mean that for indigenous people. They didn't mean that for black people. They didn't mean that for disabled people. When you accept that this thing that we've called freedom, this country that we say that was built on liberty and justice, when you accept that that is a lie, and at no point in American history did our government actually, you guys know the legal system. Some of you guys, you have kids, you've been through family court. You know court is where the most heinous, horrible, most corrupt people of society are. When you accept it, when you stop pretending that you have a justice system and understand you don't have a justice system, you have a legal system that protects some while it oppresses others. When you accept that, nihilism makes sense. It makes sense. Everything is collapsing. When you grow up your whole life believing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and then you are exposed to different literature and you're exposed to the history of the church. And you start to see how religion has been used mostly for war, mostly for the oppression of others. And you start going back and reading, doing your own research towards your own religion. And the meaning collapses in on itself. It no longer means anything. And the reason why it doesn't mean anything is because what they told you was a lie. And so one of the big parts of overcoming nihilism is that radical acceptance. And it's scary. Because it's like, wait a second, if America isn't the land of the free and the home of the brave, then what is it? If whiteness, the idea of whiteness as a race is just a made up concept and you're a white person, well, what does that mean for you? What does that mean about your identity, right? If Jesus Christ is not the Son of God, or if the religion is BS, what does that mean for your identity, okay? Nihilism makes sense in 2025, 2024, the past decade or so. It makes sense why a lot of young men are suffering through nihilism, okay? This is existential dread. The moment you see that nothing you build, believe, or love is guaranteed to matter, that your gods can die, that your legacy can be forgotten, and that the systems you serve are just stories we agree to believe in, most people run. They built religions, ideologies, traditions like wall to protect themselves from the truth. They call it faith, but it's fear wearing a cross. But the overman does not run. He walks into the abyss. He stares into the void until his eyes adjust because he knows the secret. The abyss is not empty. It's waiting. The unknown does not kill you. Fear does. Meaninglessness. But the overman survives meaninglessness. And on the other side, he finds the one thing that cannot be given or inherited. He finds actualized faith. This is going to be a big concept, and I'm going to get deeper into this, okay? But For those of you guys struggling with existential dread, for those of you guys who look out at the world and go like, what is the point? What is the point? These are the questions you're supposed to be asking. I want to encourage you, if you feel like, man, none of this means anything, I want to encourage you, you are ahead of the game. Because so many people are going to a job they hate, going someplace that they don't love, trying to get degrees that they don't really want, because they are still within this idea that if I do X, Y, and Z, if I do A, it will lead to B. But that's not how this society works. Society has never worked like that, right? And at least in the United States of America. And so I want to encourage you guys, if you're asking these questions, these big, deep questions, you are on the right path, okay? You are on the right path. You're supposed to be asking these questions, because asking these questions challenges what you believe. And when we get to the core of what you believe, what we're going to find out is what you believe is not internal. What you believe is embodied, okay? Actualized faith is not the belief in something. It is the belief in yourself as the thing that creates meaning, not the thing that waits for it. The overman lives by this faith. He leads by this faith. While others wait for gods or governments to save them, the overman creates new gods, new worlds, new features. The overman recognizes what fear has hidden from everyone. Humans are the meaning makers of the universe. Meaninglessness is not a problem for humans. It is their purpose. To our knowledge, nothing else in the universe searches for meaning like humans does. Therefore, it does not make sense for us to be afraid when we find no meaning to life. Nothing else in the universe recognizes life as life. We named life life. We are the ones who invent stories about the universe when none existed before us. We identify meaning in a meaningless universe. I believe one of my big ideas, maybe the most profound idea that I go through in this manifesto, is the idea that human beings are the meaning makers of the universe. One of our problems as human beings is we have a tendency to see ourselves as separate from the universe, separate from the earth, separate from nature, separate from the stars, and not understanding that we are all a part of that system and we have a role in that system. And our role as human beings is to create meaning. We are meaning makers. We give meaning to the universe. And so the collapse of meaning is not a problem. Meaninglessness is really not a problem for humans. Is what we're supposed to be doing. Again, let's go back to children. What do children just do naturally? They create meaning. A stick becomes a sword, right? The Barbies become, they have their own little world and everything. Their imagination, right? Children are constantly creating meaning out of things. And then what happens is we grow up and become adults and we are given meaning. We're given meaning through school. We're giving meaning through religion. We're giving meaning to our parents. And we grow up and we stop creating meaning. We stop defining things. We stop being creative, and we stop being trusting our intuition, and we just accept the meaning that people give to us. And then we get older than that and we realize all the meaning that they gave to us was bullshit. But I want to help you guys understand it's okay. It's okay when you get to a place of meaninglessness, because your natural state, what you did as a child, was constantly create meaning. As adults, we're supposed to constantly create meaning. You are creating meaning from this video. This video means one thing to me. It means something different to you. That's fine. That's called humanity. And we have lived in the United States of America in this culture of control. And the way you control a population is you strip their ability to create meaning for themselves. And you teach them that, man, it'd be chaos if everybody could just create their own meaning. But that's not true. Okay? It's not true. Societies collapse when the stories they've been telling themselves no longer work, right? White supremacy, American exceptionalism, right? They're collapsing. They no longer work. But collapse is not death, it's invitation. When the old meaning falls apart, something new can be built. This is where matrical thinking begins. Matrical thinking is the ability to think in systems, across forces, across illusions. It is the recognition that self, society, and the unknown are always working simultaneously, independently, and interdependently. Linear thought asks, what is the truth? Matrical thought asks, what system produced that truth and who does it serve? Metrical thinking allows you to navigate dread without needing quick answers. It teaches you that meaning is not found, it's forced. And once you realize that, you stop waiting to be saved. You stop needing permission. You become the creator. That is the purpose of life. Not to discover meaning, but to create meaning that serves the self, the society, and prepares for the unknown. And when that meaning stops serving, the overman creates again, because in a meaningless universe, meaning is not an inheritance, it is an act of rebellion. And creation is the only rebellion that changes the future. So again, as I said, we human beings, we make things mean things. The sun doesn't mean anything until we say it means something. If we all gathered today, if all the humans of Earth decided that thing, that big star in the sky is no longer called the sun, it's now called a pickle, guess what? It's called a pickle. Nothing means anything. None of it has ever meant anything. We are what gives meaning to it, right? We are the meaning makers of the universe, okay? And we are here to create. We are here to create. I believe one of the reasons why human beings are so enamored with sex, right? Yes, it's biology, but I also think it has something to do with the spiritual nature of ourselves. We are creative. We are creative. We want to create. Nothing creates in all of the universe. Nothing creates like humans do. We create computers. We create artificial intelligence. We create other humans. We create systems. We create ideologies. We create religion. And when you've been in a system like the United States of America that has been built to squash the meaning and to squash the creativity of so many people. Think about it. What is the purpose of saying black people are 3/5 of a human or indigenous people are savages? What is the purpose of that? It's so that they can't dictate their own reality. The purpose of law is to control and say, okay, this is what justice is. So other people can't say what justice is. They're trying to control, they're trying to suppress humanity. And now we have to come to grips with that, because now we have people in office, in position of power, that all they want is control and money. They don't care about humanity. They don't care about any of us. They care about themselves. And it's the antithesis of what we're supposed to do as humans. As humans, we're supposed to create meaning that serves ourselves and the society. But the way that we do that is through actualized faith. And this is going to be a big one. The overman is defined by his ability to lead in the unknown through actualized faith by creating where others cling. Religions, gods, and economies tried to dominate the matrix by isolating one pillar, worshiping society, collectivism, the self, capitalism, or claiming mystery over the unknown, religion. The overman is born in the ruins of these systems. He does not lead by tradition. He does not lead by fear. He leads by actualized faith. Actualized faith is not the belief in a God, a book, or a system. It's not reciting what you were told. It's not obedience disguised as trust. It's not fear wearing a cross, a flag, or a philosophy. Actualized faith is the belief in the self as the meaning maker of the universe. It is the awareness that meaning is not inherited, it is created. And in a world without guarantees, to create meaning is the boldest act a human can make. Most people spend their lives avoiding the unknown. They run towards dogma, ideology, tradition, anything to escape the abyss. But the overman walks into the abyss, sees that it's empty, and chooses to build anyway. He understands that if meaning is not real, then he must become the source of it. That is actualized faith. Okay? So again, most people, right? Think about what is the purpose of religion. The purpose of religion is to give meaning to a certain aspect of life, be it morality, being that what happens after I die, or our purpose in life, right? What's the purpose of government? The purpose of government is to give meaning to a set of individuals amongst a common law or common entity. The reason why we depend on religion, on government, on economies, on jobs, careers, is this gives us meaning. Well, now here we are in 2025, and these systems are collapsing. And if you've spent your whole life trying to cling on to these systems, when they collapse, you're going to collapse with them. And so actualized faith, as I said, is the belief in the self as the meaning maker of the universe. So you got to embody what you believe. You say you believe in justice, prove it. Show me with your life. You know, on TikTok, I go back and forth with Marxists a lot, with leftists, right? And my big critique of the left is very simple. You guys can talk my ear off about Karl Marx. You can talk my ear off about socialism, communism, all this stuff. Where the fuck is the revolution? Where is it at? Where is this revolution? Where is this communist, socialist revolution? How many more children need to get gunned down at school before the leftists give us our revolution? How much more money needs to go to Israel before we get our revolution? How many more families need to be separated before you guys start living out what you believe? See, in America, you've been taught knowing is just as good as doing. Many Americans right now just really want to go, I told you so, right? I get no joy out of telling someone who supported Donald Trump, I told you so. I told you he was corrupt. I told you you wouldn't get the fouls. I told you. How does that help anybody? No, it's not about, knowing what's right. It's about doing what's right. And right now we need men and women to step up and start doing what's right. In the pro-human movement, we came up with something called the subscription liberation. It's a very simple concept. If 100 million people gave $1 a month, that's $1.2 billion a year. Nobody would miss a meal. Nobody would miss a bill. You wouldn't even miss it. You're already giving $20 to Netflix, to Hulu, to Spotify, to Apple Music. Your money is already going to things that don't serve you. But what if we all just $1? $1. We could change this world. The reason why people can't see that, the reason why people don't do that is a lack of faith. They don't believe that that's possible. So they tell themselves the issue is capitalism. Capitalism is the issue. But as I teach people in the pro-human movement, the systems don't live outside of humanity. If you killed every human on planet Earth, there's no capitalism. There's no capitalism if you got rid of all humans. Capitalism is the unconscious way in which you deal with reality. To stop capitalism is to change the way you live, is to embody a different belief. Whatever you embody is what you believe. You see what I'm saying? Whatever you live out, whatever you do in your life is what you believe. And American society is really built upon the illusion of belief. So we'll say Jesus is Lord over here, but then over here we're diddling little kids, right? We'll say make America great over here, but then we're making treasonous deals with foreign states. Because that's the game in America. All men are created equal, except women, indigenous people, black people, disabled people, and poor white men. But all men are created equal. That's the illusion. See, in America, the way that America functions, the way that America stays up is by getting men to not live out their beliefs. You are against the child abusers. You're against treason. You're against corruption, but you don't live it out. You don't risk anything. You don't step into the unknown and go, you know what? I know that this is wrong, but I don't know that my plan is going to work. I don't know that I won't get consequences, but I'm going to act anyway. I'm going to act anyway. That's actualized faith. And I need to let you guys know, just because you're not actualizing your faith doesn't mean that there aren't people who are actualizing their faith. Okay? Continuing. This is why liars, manipulators, and narcissists rise to power, because they understand the unknown better than most. They know that truth only matters when it's believed. That in courtrooms, in politics, in relationships, it's not about what is, but it's about what can be made real through confidence, language, and force of will. They actualize their faith, but only to the benefit of self. They shape reality like gods, but only for themselves. They weaponize the unknown, not to uplift, but to dominate. They act like overmen, but without responsibility to the matrix. That is the difference. The liar creates meaning to control. The overman creates meaning to liberate. This faith is not passive. It is not hopeful. It does not ask, it acts. Actualized faith is creative, it's visionary, it's dangerous. It says, I will build a future I may never live to see. It says, I will walk into what I do not understand and shape it anyway. It is the only sustainable response to the unknown because the unknown is eternal. There will always be things we cannot know, cannot control, cannot prove, but that does not mean we do nothing. It means we lead with faith. Not the faith that waits, but the faith that creates. This is the overman's burden and his power. It is also why most won't become overmen yet. So when we start talking about liars, narcissists, power-hungry people, what they are good at doing, they are really good at living what they believe. You ever dealt with a narcissist, particularly like a narcissistic woman? Because I know I got a lot of men on this channel. You ever dealt with a narcissistic woman? Isn't it amazing how she knows. She knows that what she's saying is true, but it's totally not true. It's totally a lie. It's totally, like we said, like these women are delusional, right? The only reason why it's delusional to you and not to them is because they're living out their faith. In their head, they are right. In their head, they deserve this. In their head, you should been to them. And so you hear the saying, evil happens when good men do nothing. There are evil men and women who are living out what they believe every single day. If you do not step up and live out what you believe, that's why your country, that's why meaning has collapsed. Because we are so separate. We're so divided into political factions, in factions by race, in factions by class, in faction by color, in factions by so many other things. And we're just all focused on being in our little factions instead of creating meaning together. And so because of that, what's happening is that liars, narcissists, abusers, corrupt politicians, they are living out their faith every single day. And when they do that, they then build the world that the rest of us have to live in. Okay? But this is why we need to step up. As men, as women, we need to step up. Because if you can see this, it is imperative that you begin living out what you believe today. If you believe in justice, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in equality, if you believe in those things, you need to start living it out today. That's why I tell people, put your money where your mouth is. You're not budgeting for liberation. You're not budgeting for freedom. You're not budgeting for a government that's not corrupt. All your money is going to a corrupt system automatically through your taxes, through subscriptions, through automatic renewals, right? Your money is going into a system that oppresses you. You got to get focused and go, wait a second, even if it's $1 a month, even if it's $2, even if it's $5, even if you don't invest in the pro-human movement, you put that money away so that when the time does come, you're prepared. You're prepared to go, okay, I am ready to go. This is the plan. Here's how we're going to move forward and create a better meaning for all of us. Okay, almost done here. The harsh truth is this. Not everyone will become overmen. Most people will never choose to stare into the unknown. Most will never accept meaning must be created, not given. Most will never survive nihilism without falling into fear, addiction, or conformity. And a lot of us know what that's like. But that's okay. Because the overman doesn't lead so everyone can become him. The overman leads so that everyone may benefit from what he becomes. Just as 99% of reality remains unseen, 99% of people will never see the matrix. They will feel it, they will be shaped by it, but they will not step outside of it, and they will not rebuild it. This is why the overmen must build societies that account for the 99%, not by suppressing them, but by designing systems that lift them higher. This is why one of our big plan in the pro-human movement, again, you can see it all, link in the bio, www.mercyformaya.com. Our big initiative is to give universal access to life's foundations. So what does that mean? Food, water, housing, education, and healthcare, free. It does not make any logical sense for human beings to pay for this stuff. I know what the system is. I know the system says you should pay for a house. No other species on this planet pays for housing, healthcare, food, water, shelter, education. Education is what humans do naturally. You can't think to a time in your life where you weren't trying to learn something. That's why I say engaging with the unknown. That process of dealing with the unknown is education. But we've put education behind student debt paywalls. I know this is big brain thinking. I know this is like, how do we do it? We don't need to focus on how. We need to get focused on living it out. We need to get focused on everybody coming together. The how is there. The how is very simple. If we're in a capitalistic society, we got to put money together. We got to put money together, but ultimately, we have to start living differently. We have to start forming communities differently. It's one of the reasons why I'm here in Eugene. I'm trying to raise money to move to Portland, right? So that can be our hub, and we can now do our community meetings. We're doing community meetings every Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can see that at the link in the bio too, mercyformaya.com. And this has become like a church service for a lot of people. It's a place of community. It's a place of worship. It's a place where you can get messages like this, right? That's the how. That's the how. The how is us actually coming together. People go, how do we come together? You just come together. Don't make it complicated. You just come together. How do we get the money? You just give the money. Don't complicate it. I'm not telling you to go give us $50, $100. I'm not telling you to take out a loan. I'm saying, look at what you got. Just come together. Just come together and have faith and know that as long as we have faith, we can create the America that works for all of us, because our founding fathers intentionally were not trying to create an America that works for all of us. And our politicians are definitely not trying to create an America that works for all of us. Okay. The overman does not worship the matrix. He masters it, not with arrogance, but with awareness, not with tradition, but with truth. You are holding a weapon, not a map, not a comfort, a new way of seeing, a new way of becoming. This is not a book of beliefs. It is a book of builders. Everything you've read up to this point have been a preparation, a dismantling of the illusions, a confrontation of what most refuse to face, that you are the meaning maker, that nothing is coming to save you. Your creation is your only salvation. The next 3 sections will take you deeper into the self, society, and the unknown, not into abstract theories, but into the raw material of your life. You will not be told what to believe. You will be shown what to see, because when you see clearly, you build differently. And when you build differently, you lead differently. And when you lead differently, you change everything. This is where the real work begins, not to understand the matrix, but to move inside of it, to bend it, to reshape it, to leave your fingerprints on it, because if nothing matters, then what you create is all that ever will. As humans, our natural state is creativity. Our natural state is to chisel this rock into a wheel. Our natural state is to figure out we can rub these two things together and create fire. That is our natural state of creativity. But we live in a society that stifles creativity. Yeah, there's a lot of new things being invented, but they're not really propelling humanity forward. They're propelling tech businesses and corporations further, but those corporations are getting further and further away from humanity. And now we have all these AIs and all these things that doesn't really serve humanity. And so if we're going to get out of this situation, it's going to be through our own creation. Our creation is our only salvation. And if you ever created anything, whether you're an artist, you do music, or even a chef, whatever, the beautiful part of creativity is the process itself. You're not focused on the destination when you're creating, because you don't know the destination. When I go to make a song, I don't know exactly how I want it to end, but I know the next step. I know that I want to rhyme this word with this word, and I know that I want my cadence to switch up here. And sometimes it's not even until I get to the bar that I realize, oh, this is what I want to do. That's creativity. And if you think about American life is not creative. American life is you do the same thing every single day, over and over and over and over again. It's inhumane, but it works best for those who want to profit. Okay, so that's what I want to get into today. Hopefully that helps you guys who are struggling with nihilism, that helps you understand that nihilism is our purpose. We are what gives meaning to the universe. When you find something that doesn't have meaning, that's when it's time to activate your humanity. That's when it's time to get creative. Yes, all these systems are collapsing. America is collapsing. The Constitution is collapsing. Racism, white supremacy, all these old ideas, they're collapsing around us. Religion is collapsing around us. And it's time for people to step up and create. I'm not telling you guys to do something I'm not doing myself, right? I wrote the Overman's Manifesto. I started the pro-human movement, right? I didn't know that it would become this. I thought I would just be on YouTube. I didn't know it would take me to TikTok. I didn't know I could go get 15,000 followers on TikTok. I didn't know it would turn into the subscription liberation. I didn't know that we'd be trying to move to Portland. I didn't know any of this stuff weeks ago. But every day I wake up and I create. Every day I wake up and I pursue what I believe is right in spite of the so-called system. Because remember, no system exists outside of you. Capitalism, socialism, Marxism, communism, none of that stuff exists outside of you. That's the illusion. Okay? So I'm going to start posting on here more and more. My goal is every day here in December, just the days December 5th or 4th, but every day from here on out to post here and to take that into the new year and really gather people and also raise money for our movement. Again, subscription liberation. It's very simple, guys. You subscribe to everything else. Subscribe to Liberation, right? The subscription on this channel helps YouTube. The like helps YouTube. If you want to help humanity, put your money where your mouth is. I'm not going to tell you a certain amount. It's based upon your budget, your faith. Your faith and your budget. You decide how much to give. Whether that's $1, whether that's $2, whether that's $5. But see, we live in a society and a culture where if it doesn't have a price on it, you don't even know how to value it. You don't even know how to value it. So me not putting a price on it is, again, me trying to help you be a human and go, wait a second, what is something like this worth to me? And how much of this can I give? Okay? So link in the bio if you want to support us, if you want to help us, the movement. I'll be back here tomorrow to talk about more things. Leave questions down in the comment section of other things you want me to hit on, other things you want me to talk about. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.